Yeah. There was actually 11.
Shalom,
There was
shalom.
11 Nazis that were on trial. One of them committed suicide the night before they hung him and was yelling, Purim spiel in his cell. Yeah, that was the way.
I just want to thank Rabbi Pinchas, Rosh Hashiva Bashkina Kadisha for having this gathering for us to come and connect to Purim Katan, and the greatest way to connect to any Yom Tov is to share Torah. It's a pleasure to be here, be a part of the yeshiva, and to be able to share Torah in the Old City on this holy day. Also want to say I really liked what Zachariah said, and I like it most because he was inside the text, and God willing, all of his fans, his music fans, get to see that part of him being inside the text, and his Torah becomes famous in the world as well as his music. So right now we're in the world, politically we're in this place where there's a big machlokas going on in the world, where you have Russia headed by Putin, and he may invade Ukraine's and America. So it's a big machlokas between both. But Rabbi Pinchas said something really amazing yesterday. He was saying that we're talking about two different philosophies. You're talking about a man who is created by the institution, and then you have the man who is a self-made man. And so those two different ideologies is what we're seeing going back and forth. Who's right? What is the right way for the world to be governed? Is it the man that's created from the pyramid structure, or is it the man that picks up and creates on his own? And so I think that idea could be used as somewhat of an insight to when we're talking about Purim. We're talking about a Jew that was much different than the Jew that was on Mount Sinai. The Jew on Mount Sinai was leaving, slavery, was leaving this terrible situation in a way, like in the desert, there was no food, they only had manna, these different things built them, but they were at a point, the Midrash says it's almost like the Midrash uses the analogy of Hashem holding two mountains holding the mountains over the heads of the Jewish people as they were going to Mount Sinai. And the Mefarshim say it's not that it was dafka that Hashem held mountains over them, but it was the fact that the truth and the emet of the Torah was so real. It was as if there were mountains held over their head where they had no choice to accept the Torah. That was on Mount Sinai. But over here, we're talking about a Jew that was in a situation where they had to change the structure of the universe, that their lives were endangered, the future of Kol Israel was in danger, the bringing of the Mashiach was in danger, everything was in danger during this particular time of the world. The balance of humanity stood with the Jewish people and their ability to live or not live. Because as we learn in this week's Parsha, Hashem says to Moshe, if you destroy the Jewish people, Moshe says to Hashem, if you destroy the Jewish people, take me out of the book. Because you're talking about a whole new system now. You're talking about a completely new computer program that has never existed before, will have to come into place without the Jewish people. Because this is the purpose of the Jewish people, is to bring this Torah into this world, to fuel it with light, to allow humanity to continue to advance into new millenniums. So we're talking about two different types of Jews here. We're talking about the creation of a new Jew. Purim, the fast that Zachariah talked about, that happened on Pesach, a time where there's supposed to be a Seder. And he said, no, at this particular moment, this is the technology we need to use to literally change the stars. Because we're talking about removing denim. And these things we're talking about, there's a decree. This is how the universe is designed. The universe is designed in a particular way, and that's why this din is going to happen. So in order for din to change, that system of planet Earth and all the galaxies and all the solar systems has to change. And so when the Jewish people fasted during the time of Pesach, they used that ruknius, that kedusha, that shefa of new beginnings, of new creation, of a new seder, and they did it in a different way. Even to the point when Esther said it to Mordechai, we need to fast, he was like, whoa, Like, how am I going to convince the Jews to fast on Pesach, right? So this idea leads to a big part of the Torah that I've received here at Bastina Kadisha, which is this idea of, first we have to address the failure of the civil rights movement in America, right? We have to address, we have to address, is there a way we can pause it to allow me to do that? How do you do the pause? Oh, it was in the middle.
Wait.
Hold on, we're gonna pause for a second. Okay, so we had a commercial, Super Bowl commercial delay. But I was just gonna say, the Torah that I've been able to really connect to here at Bastina Kadisha, having the merit to learning at so many great institutions in Israel, that I feel like created a vessel for me to be able to learn here, is this idea. I'm saying as a person who grew up in America, it's like the civil rights movement, was a failure, but also a gift, because the whole concept of the civil rights movement was based off of the equality and the desires that Black people had in America during that time, which were all justified. I mean, my family's a part of the civil rights movement. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a great grandchild of the civil rights movement. And that's another reason why Black Americans have so much co-op and so much, because we saw the world change to a degree, but it was still a failure because the condition of Black people in America has not really improved. The quality of life for us has not improved, but it's a gift, because now from here, learning the Torah, learning with Rabbi Pinchas Eliyahu at Bastina Kadisha, now I can look and define Blackness in a new way. What does it mean to be Black? What does it mean to be dark? What is this idea of choshech? Now I can sit in front of the world and say, I'm proud to be Black because who I am is unknown. It's a concealed entity that Hashem has tucked away in the universe that no one knows about. Right? And what is the beauty of that? The beauty of that is that now I can peel away my identity, this choshech, and I could bring or to my existence through the Torah. And why is that a gift? Because I'm not the only Black person in the world that really doesn't know their identity is concealed. You can have the whole continent of Africa is concealed, right? African Americans concealed. So as the same way that we talked about the battle between Putin and Biden and these two different men, the man of the system and the man of making. And we could look at the Jew of the time of Har Sinai and the Jew of the time of Shushan. And those are two different Jews. One was receiving out of a Rachmanis. The other one received because they decided. The failure of the civil rights movement is that it only focused on Black people. There were all types of people that were suffering in America. There was all types of other groups. There was Hispanics, there were American Indians, there were women, white women, they weren't even allowed to vote. But it was only a singular focus. But now, being Black in the frame of the Torah, and I reveal my light through my avodas Hashem, through my tshuva, through my transformation, now it's not about me being Black, it's about the whole world not knowing who they are. Every group of people on planet Earth has no clue who they really are. And that's why we could go to war with each other. That's why we could allow a group of people to be in famine. That's why we could have people who look down on another group of people. How could you look down on your brother? So this idea of where we're at now, we're creating a new man. That's what we're doing with this Torah. It's a small group of guys. But you know what? The American Revolution was started with a small group of guys. And I'm sure every great movement that's ever existed in history started with a small group of men, sitting at a table, figuring out life, discussing life, and building a co-op to go and influence their brothers and sisters. So we have to envision, what does this new man look like? What does a new white man look like? What does a new yellow man look like? What does a new red man look like? Not the rapper. What does a new black man look like? Because if my existence is saying that if I'm black and I take on all the colors of all of humanity and that's who I am, that means as I release myself, I'm releasing all of humanity. And as we've been learning in our Torah, that if we don't have the 70 nations in our mind, there's no shefa. If we don't rule and give judgments and leadership from a place of hesed for all the 70 nations, for all the people, there's no hesed being revealed. There's no gevurah, there's no tiferet, all the way to malchut. There's nothing manifesting in this world unless we have in mind all the nations. So now blackness, as it's defined in this yeshiva, is an identity of concealment that can only be revealed through God, through nothing else. No institution, no private interest group, nothing. We can only reveal ourselves through God. And as we learned on a deeper level, blackness is also a level of the soul. It's not just the skin complexion. The skin complexion is saying you have no choice but to confront this. But there's souls that have black souls, meaning that these souls are also concealed that need to be revealed. This is our connection to all of humanity. So again, I want to thank Rabbi Pinchas for sharing his Torah and empowering, and that we all take on this responsibility for all of humanity, that all of humanity can see that in the same way that Hashem using these people that have been identified as black, as being people who were concealed, that their identity was tucked away in Shemaim and that only can be revealed through Avodas Hashem, that they see themselves in that same way. Because the person who calls himself white, they're not white. They're Selam Elohim. The people who have more money than someone else, they're not rich. They're Selam Elohim. And all of these people have a responsibility, but they don't know. So through us, the people who've been kicked around, the people who've been abused, the people who've been, the others, the people who've been hung, the people who've been murdered, the people who've been raped, the people who've been pillaged, those people, we can talk to everybody in the world. And we can show them that, no, you're not that savage person. You're actually an image of God. And you need a new system. And when we go into our communities, we can say, you know what? You're not a Crip. You're not a Blood. You are Selam Elohim. You have a responsibility in this world. And we could spread this idea all over the world. So Chag Sameach, and may we all only know happiness as Rabbi Elazar has taught us.